Look at that lighting. I bought this silly little sunset lamp off of TikTok. Now, I already bought a ring light, right? Like the proper content creator that I am. But I don't know. Just looking back on the intro I did last week when I was in bed, and I was too lazy to get up and get the ring light, and I used the sunset lamp. I was kind of like, no, they look cool. They look cool. And I got this off TikTok, as I say. You know when you see ads on YouTube, for example, and it's just annoying, and you just next, next, next. They're so irritating. That will be me very soon, hopefully. By the way, because I want to monetize this shit. But no, I mean, on TikTok and Instagram, the products that you advertise, they seem to be, I don't know, the algorithm just knows you different. And I'm a sucker. I remember buying a dozen pairs of these Nordic socks within 1 minute of seeing the ad on Instagram. They were too small. My mum wears a couple, my girlfriend's got a few pairs. But with the sunset lamp, by God, am I going to get my money's worth? Okay? The lighting is far less professional. But let's crack on. Welcome, guys. Welcome. I am your host, Steve, of the Cosmic Banter podcast, and we are at the end. We've made it to the final episode of the pilot season, season 0. This is episode 9, and yeah, I'm happy. I'm happy. I'm proud of myself. I'm proud of the guests that have come on and been really brave in sharing their stories, and who have, I appreciate their time as well. They're not getting anything out of this. Some have said it's cathartic and helpful for these otherwise difficult encounters and experiences they've had. That's not the goal. That's a fantastic bonus. But for the most part, these are people who are just kind enough to share their story for free and take an hour or two out of their week to chat with me. So thank you guys, everyone that's featured thus far, and everyone that I've already interviewed that is yet to have their episode released. And any of those left will be in season 1, which I'll be launching next week. So yeah, and thank you guys to the listeners, all 24 of you, I guess. I mean, look, I can say that and be all self-deprecating, like, oh yeah, all my listeners, all 24 of you. But no, seriously, this is a cool moment, because I'm recording this on, what are we, December 7th, 2024, right? So this is an interesting little timestamp, because mark my words, December 7th, 2025 is going to look a whole lot different. Trust. Big trust. Big trust on that one, please. Now, today's guest is Shan. Shan? 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 Oh my god, this is really unprofessional. The lighting, and I can't remember the pronunciation of my guest's name. Maybe I should reconsider this whole thing, I don't know. Anyway, you'll learn her name within the first few seconds of the interview where I introduce her. But Shan, I believe it is, Shan I met in Melbourne at a class pass class. If you know what class pass is, Anyway. And we got chatting, and it became clear that Shan was really, well versed in the world of the supernatural and the spiritual. And Shan, for a living, is a Reiki energy healer. Okay, I don't know the exact title that she goes by, but it's the same line of work as one of my earlier guests, Heather, who you may recall from, I believe it was episode 4, the 1980 UFO landing in Moree, New South Wales. Great episode. If you haven't heard it, please go back and do listen. Um, Shan's Shan was a great gal to chat with. We had a lot of laughs, and this interview, I'm putting it in season 0 because it's quite different. It's a different structure from many of the other ones I've done. It's an in-person interview, but it was also recorded. Now, I said to Shan when she came over, ideally I want to, record these episodes, but I don't have any fancy recording equipment. I've just got my MacBook. Would you be keen to give that a crack? And she was game, and we just filmed it on my MacBook, and I got a little separate audio recorder to record the audio, and yeah, so it was fun. It was really fun. This is a slightly longer episode, much like this intro. Sorry I didn't script it. Couldn't be bothered. Um, it's 2 hours. It's 2 hours. Now, bear with me. I know a lot of you listening who are friends and family of mine aren't big podcast listeners, and you may not realize that 2 hours um, is actually quite a short time for many podcasts. A lot of these really high-ranking podcasts go for 3-4 hours. I guess the difference being they've proven themselves, right? Whereas I've not, like as evidenced in when I said I have 24 followers. So don't get me wrong, I'm not going to be launching into 4-hour episodes whilst I try and build a following. And count your lucky stars, you don't have to hear me ramble for 4 hours. It's already been 7 minutes, and I can only imagine how you must feel thus far. Now, Shan and I had a really wide-ranging discussion, and it was cool. This is going to be unfiltered, unedited, walking in and out of the shot, and yeah, we spoke really all things supernatural and spiritual. We spoke about gender, not like that, not political. I know you're allowed to be, you can choose, what gender, that's your prerogative now. But, well, I guess it always has been. But, what I'm trying to say is we talk about the masculine energy and the feminine energy and how we can utilize both, and the benefits of each, and I suppose the pitfalls. Certainly a few pitfalls with the feminine energy that I can think of personally, but I'm joking. That sort of banter is where Shan was fantastic. She was a really good sport, put up with my nonsense. And what else did we talk about? We talked about spells and witchcraft, and if there's any incentive that you needed to eventually listen right through to the end, at the end, we actually do a little ritual. We do a little spell, a little ritual. So there's perhaps a little Easter egg for you, something to look forward to. Look, I will wrap this up in all seriousness. Thank you guys. Thank you for bearing with me through all the inconsistent audio and visual components to the season. With that said, don't expect a quantum leap in season 1. Just expect, at least at minimum, acceptable audio and video quality and production, and a consistent structure. I've already got 3 or 4 episodes lined up, and they are fantastic. I'm really excited to share them, actually. And yeah, I'm excited for you guys to listen, and I'm excited for all of the up-and-coming guests. If you're in my DMs on TikTok, because I've been hassling you for a story and I haven't replied in a couple of days, apologies. I love you. I need to hear your stories, and that goes for anyone who I haven't spoken to yet either. Please reach out. Still collating stories. let's crack in and let's listen to this. This is season 0, the final episode of season 0, episode 9, and the title is Spells, Witchcraft, and the Wounded Feminine. As ever, when the phenomenon decides to reach you, I hope that you decide to reach out to Cosmic Banter. And with that, enjoy, and I look forward to seeing you guys on the other side in season 1. Peace! And that's the audio. All right. Shan.
Hi.
Hi. Thank you so much for joining me. And we only met, what was it, last Friday?
Yeah, it was Friday.
I won't go into how we met, but it was in a professional setting. Yes. And we just started chatting, didn't we? And it occurred to me that you might be a good candidate for this podcast. Mm-hmm. So welcome.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me.
I've called it the Cosmic Banter podcast. Do you like the name?
I love the name.
Yeah?
I love the name. Yeah.
Yeah. Because, I like a bit of banter. Mm-hmm. And the idea was I would start with, I suppose, Australian, New Zealand guests. Mm-hmm. And I don't know. I was watching this thing last night and it was a video on like a crypto channel, right. And finance, whatever. Mm-hmm. And I was really intrigued by it. I was like, this is a really, really good show. And then it showed the name and it was Crypto Banter. And I was like, yeah, it was just a fun little like, oh yeah, like, no, I've chosen well with that name. But anyway, so as we were talking about before, generally I like to ask people to share a couple of specific stories, but what's been happening recently is oftentimes they've just evolved into just a normal chat. Do you want to just perhaps start by giving a bit of background, introduce yourself, who you are, and we'll go from there?
Yeah, I think it's very clear to me this lifetime that I'm on a bit of a different mission. I feel like I have been sent here to break some ancestral patterning in my family and also to help birth the new world that we're all really aching for. And my whole life experience, to be completely honest, has been initiations in and understanding and remembering that contract. It feels like I was given a contract wherever I have come from, and something in me was like, oh, Earth sounds fun, sign the contract. And now that I've gotten here, should I not swear on the podcast?
Swear away.
Okay,
fucking
cool.
Swear, please. Don't get filthy.
Of course, but I mean, I don't swear often, but I feel like language is an important way of expressing yourself. It feels like I was like, why the fuck didn't I read my contract?
Language. I just told you not to use that language.
That was smooth.
No, sorry. Sorry.
I respect it.
Carry on.
So it feels like there's a little bit of like, oh my God, why didn't I read this contract before I came here? There's so much that I've had to move through and understand that would have been nice to have a heads up instead of being thrown into it. And I was talking to my sister about this and she was like, no, Shan, I feel like you've actually been to Earth so many times that you know that whatever you go through here, you're going to be fine and you're going to get through. So what I'm very aware of through this journey of birthing the new world and breaking old patterns of ancestry in my family line is that my mother line is very mediumship, so access to the dead. And my father's side, especially my nan in particular, is very psychic and clairaudient, clairvoyant. But because I'm quite disconnected from my mother line, because there's a lot of wounding there, I'm still working on healing. I have much more access to clairvoyance, clairaudience, like being able to have premonitions and dreams, being able to hear voices, and they'd be my guides in my life and where to take myself, and how to help everybody access those parts within themselves too. And I do that through my line of work as a yoga teacher and as an energy healer, which is interesting too, because those realms also came to me the more I started to listen to those messages. Because I was born into a very dark world, very dark kind of upbringing, and all I've done is not let that tell me what my experience is and go really deep within myself and listen to the messages that don't reflect anything of my external world to then create this internal light that I feel, then become my external world. So my gift is my clairvoyance, my clairaudience, my psychic awareness. And part of what I have been through in my journey has taught me wisdom to help people recognize that they all have it too. And it's the mission I'm on at the moment, visiting Earth, to do that, to wake up the world so we stop living in old conditioned ways that are creating war and havoc and pain in the world, you know.
So do you believe that we all have
Yes.
these abilities?
Yes. And what has happened is we've just been conditioned for a long time, that has calcified the pineal gland, or has created so much pain and wounding that we can't quite access the love that is beneath that, because the truth is love. Anything that isn't love is something for us to move through, to learn from, to experience, so we can come back to love. The only reason hate exists because it is a block to love. You know, we're only ever mad at someone because they're taking away that source that we know is there. You know? So I feel like I am here to remind everybody of that. And it's a hard path to walk, because I feel like even if I'm like out in public transport or doing things like that, I'm the only motherfucker walking this way and there's a swarm of people all going that way. It is so clear that I'm like an earth warrior and part of a wolf tribe, that we're all separate. We're all in different parts of the world, different parts of the city, different parts of... But we're all connected. It's like a web. It's very interesting. And I feel like you're in the web too. But I feel like you're on the edge of the web and you're starting to learn how connected it is, because you're starting to be wowed by, you know, all these synchronicities and things. And I'm kind of just like, welcome.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. It's
So this even here is part of what you should be listening to about what is real for you. You know?
Yeah, I'm going to get into it in a separate episode, but I haven't had many like crazy spiritual experiences, but probably
what's yours?
Well, the most I'm not gonna go into detail, because I will do a separate podcast, and it involves someone who passed away, and I just want to be sensitive around their family members, etc., and not quite sure how I'll go about talking about it. But anyway, this person, the night before they passed away, I was speaking with them, and they said, "Oh, and when are you doing that podcast?" And I said,
"This is the person who passed."
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow.
And I said, "Oh,
I got goosebumps."
Yeah.
Yeah, I've got to tell you more about me. This is connected. This is bigger than the podcast.
Okay.
Yeah, which is part of it too. But please continue.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. We're in now.
We're in.
We're into
We're in
it.
the portal. We're in the cosmic banter portal.
The cosmic banter portal.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'll share with you after the story. But just while this is recording, this person in my life, who I wasn't super close to, who was very close to someone else in my life, and important to them, passed away. And I sort of shared this idea with her and the other person she was close to, that was close to me, about doing this podcast. And I had a lot of inner resistance and what will people think, and like, will it be successful, or does it have to be successful? Like, how do I start? You know, is it unprofessional with the role I'm currently working if colleagues and bosses and stuff found out about it, all of that stuff, right?
Yes, yeah.
And had some resistance from other people quite close to me as well in my life, kind of making me feel that I was silly for entertaining it. And anyway, I spoke to
Sounds
this...
like a contraction.
Yeah. I spoke to this woman who passed the night before she passed. There's a whole other buzzy story that goes along with it. And yeah, she said, when are you doing that podcast? And I was kind of a bit shocked because I was like, I think it's still recording.
Okay, cool. Sorry. I just noticed it.
Yeah. I think it's just sleeping.
It's got the green light still next to the camera.
Oh, yeah. Cool. Yeah, that's true. Good spotting. Hi. And it kind of shocked me because it was like, I sort of downplayed like, yeah, look, it's...
Did she already know that it was on your radar?
Yeah, I'd shared like some image artwork that I was playing around with on ChatGPT and like, and she's like, no, you know, so-and-so told me about this idea. And I was like, I was a bit embarrassed. I was like, yeah, it's just a little fun project idea. I don't really know. You know, it'll be a while before anything's released or anything's done about it. But I'm like, and I said, why do you ask? Do you think that's a good idea? She said, absolutely.
Yeah. Was she an older woman?
Middle-aged.
Middle-aged, yeah.
But she was like, no, I think...
She was in her feminine, yeah.
I think you need to do this. Like, I think you'll be perfect for it. You've got to do this. And then the next day she passed away. And not that her passing had anything to do with it, but I suppose the power of her confidence in telling me I should pursue it, and then her passing away the next day, and that was the last conversation I had with her. It does come back to me. It does spring to mind whenever there's doubt or and I don't know how we got into that, but sorry, I interrupted you.
No, it is exactly. This is the thread. This is right. And also she picked up on that thread too, but that's why she was so sure about it. She was like, this is what you have to do. She heard that message through spirit, and she passed it on to you because you were starting to get it, but then it kind of, you started to let the mind and the fears and the other people interfere with your thread. And you know what's interesting? You know, at the beginning of this podcast, I said my father's side is psychic, but my mother's side is mediumship. It connects with the dead. What I understand, and with love and grace to this person who has passed away, what I'm very aware with when it comes to my mediumship is I haven't yet found my mentor that has been able to teach me how to open up that portal to connect with them in a boundary way that makes me feel safe. And I've had experiences where that's gotten too messy, which is why I haven't opened that door and that channel. It's kind of like a radio station. You know, you're tuning it to then be able to connect to something beyond this physical realm. But what does happen, what is very clear for me, is when somebody that I'm connected to isn't picking up the call from the person who has passed on from them, brings me into their realm, so they start listening to the call. So that woman has called on me to be here today, so you listen to your call. It happens in my sessions, it happens in my relationships, it happens to me in friendships. They're dead people come to my dream. I call them the next day and be like, yo, what's your relationship like with your grandmother? And they're like, oh my God, they died 2 years ago today. And it's like, she was in my dream last night. You're not listening to her. She's here to love you. She's got a message for you. And then they tap in and they listen to it and they're let in.
Wow.
Yeah. So my story today is this.
Yeah.
You know, I feel like this is the portal cracking open for you.
Yeah.
You know?
When I started sharing that and you sort of jumped with excitement, like what was that moment?
That's me just knowing that there's part of my purpose in this. And part of my purpose is to bring people to their purpose. You know, the reason I do my massage and energy healing work and yoga is that so we don't let all this stuff get in the way of what our spirit has brought us here to do. In whatever reason we were born, whatever it is we believe we come from. You know, some of us don't have a big spiritual purpose this lifetime, and they're just what I call the muggles and the battery, right? To keep other things going till we can access those things. Everything has its place, you know? And my place is to wake us up to what our destiny is. And this is part of your destiny. And you started to slip it a little bit. So maybe I'm that little encouragement to that your friend has called me in because I'm open to that kind of energy and presence to be like, yep, here we go. Fascinating, huh?
Fascinating.
Yeah. So an example of this being another example, I'm going to use my most, I'm in a beautiful new union with this incredible divine man who is balming all my wounds, you know. But I broke up with somebody in January for being, I was disrespected in that union with this person. I just feel like I wanted to make it clear that, you know, this I'm talking about, I don't know, I just wanted to respect both lovers, you know, in sharing that. And when I let them go for disrespecting me, their grandmother started visiting me, you know.
Their grandmother.
Their grandmother, who is not Earthside anymore. I never met them. They're from a different country, you know. I was with my partner for 4 months. We were very in love. It was a very karmic relationship. And when I let them go, I was quite firm and unapologetic with it, because at the beginning of the relationship, I laid all my cards out on the table. I was very open and honest. This is what I need for you to meet me. And they still chose their fear and their wounding and pulled me into that when I made it very clear I don't have space to be disrespected. And not that I need to get into any of that. Anyway, so they were obviously very hurting and aching after the breakup, and I started to feel a very dark, heavy, almost suicidal energy from them. So I wanted to make sure they were okay, but I also didn't want to disrespect myself and my own boundaries and overgive my love and energy to them. But then their grandmother started visiting me because she was aware that they were in a really low place. And I told their grandmother, who came to visit me, you've got to go to them. You've got to go back to them. I can't help you because it's disrespecting
Boundaries.
myself. Yeah, you know? And so then what I did, I sent her back to really be firmer in connecting with them. And then I, like, as the proof, I suppose, I checked their Instagram to be like, I wonder where they're at, what's going on. Like, we weren't connected on that platform anymore. And then within the last hour, and it was maybe a couple of hours ago that I sent their grandmother away from me, he'd posted a picture of his grandmother. And I was like, oh, good, she reached him.
Wow.
Yeah. Very interesting. Very, very interesting.
And
then, like, I felt his energy had lifted since then too. You know, so he started to let in instead of stewing in their shame and their pain and thinking that something that heavy is their answer. Like, that brings their grandmother, who loves them dearly, no matter whether they're Earthside or not, to care for them and protect them and be their guide. But they were so low that they weren't feeling that love. So then she came to me being like, please, 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 I'm going to lose my, you know, he's got other things to do in his life. But I was like, he drained me. Go back to him, you know? And he was able to let her in.
Wow.
And that's still giving me my love to them and their destiny without disrespecting myself.
Wow, that's crazy.
Yeah. And there's many times that other little stories like that too, but that's the one that's there at the moment.
Yeah. And yeah, it sounds like for someone like you who's deep in this, experiences this sort of stuff every day, not just experiences, but, you know, you believe this is your purpose, right? Yeah, lifestyle. You don't need to be given evidence.
Nope.
But I suppose
because it's happened so much, it's like not uncanny for me.
Yeah, and I hear that, but it's really helpful, I think, for, again, I've said this like on a couple of different episodes. The purpose here is not to prove or to share, but at the same time, because I'm not 100%, I'm dipping my toes in that realm, and I'm often still in my head, and I still look for evidence. I mean, I'm still coming out of being an ardent atheist from my teenage years and being stuck in the corporate realm for a decade, and so I, as much as I believe it deep down, I want to hear the evidence. And so when you say though that you checked his Instagram and within that short period of time he'd posted about his grandmother, that's crazy, and you didn't need that reaffirming, but for the sake of the story, that's fantastic to hear. Yeah. So when you say she came to you, is this like...
It's a presence.
Is it in your dream or is it in waking life?
This one is in waking life. I was in Ocean Grove at the time.
How do you know? What?
Because I know what my energy feels like within myself. I know what I'm connected to. I know what I choose to engage with. I'm quite pure and I have strict energetic hygiene, So I can, I will think of a friend and then they'll text me.
Yeah.
Because we're already on each other's radar.
Yeah.
You've had things like this happen for yourself too. So when I felt this big, powerful, older woman that I know of from my ex's stories, I felt I'm just minding my business in Ocean Grove in a really open nature space, and all of a sudden there's this like crow energy over here. And then I'm kind of just like, that's who it is. And I could see her in my mind's eye I could see her as well.
What could you see? I
could see what I understood her appearance to be from photos that I had been shared with in the past. And I wasn't doing anything or ruminating anything or thinking about anything to do with her, and all of a sudden she was there. So that means she's in my field. It's not even a question, Like we all have this psychic ability. You can be sitting here in front of me right now, but also know where your keys are without looking for them because you can see it.
I had to think where they were.
Exactly. And when you lose them, that's where we go to try to find them. But you found them, right?
Yeah, I found them now.
Yeah, that's the same thing. That's just like a weaker muscle of it. It's for things like that. It's like when you can put your hand into a bag and not be looking in it, but also find something.
When you say, you sense the presence, you could sort of see an image in your mind's eye. There was this crow energy, and you're very... you've set clear boundaries with your energy field, if you want to put it that way. So to you, it would have been very, very clear and obvious. But intuitively, that makes sense to me. I've heard that time and time and time again about people feeling a presence or feeling that someone's watching them or, but I've never experienced that. So I don't know. So when I ask these questions, it's because...
You're not sure how to pick up on it yet.
Yeah, I guess I want like a more practical... It makes sense. So I've just never experienced...
What's practical to you? Your 5 senses?
Yeah, I guess if you'd said she appeared, like a ghostly figure appeared.
Interesting.
Then I would be like, oh, wow. And I'd have to take your word for it, of course.
Yeah.
Which I do.
Yeah.
But when you say that you felt a presence, it just seems... Yeah, it's just hard for me to grasp from an evidence perspective, I suppose. Do you see where I'm at? Because obviously you don't need that.
Yeah,
you don't need
I'm
evidence.
Deep in it. Yeah.
It's a feeling. It is.
It's a knowing.
It's a knowing.
Yeah. It's a knowing. It's deep within,
What is an example? You gave the keys example. What's an example for someone that hasn't had these types of experiences? Pretty prosaic, standard life, ordinary, whatever.
Yeah. So,
but what's a? Yeah, I was just going to ask what's perhaps a good comparison for when they may be tuning into that sort of.
So what's popping up in my mind right now is recognizing that this is in a more advanced practice of this for me. So maybe a story that's a little bit more to do with the physical realm and how I started to strengthen these intuitive, senses is helpful. So, for example, one time I was asleep and we can remember our dreams. I was very vivid. I had a new friend in my life And in the dream, it was her mother that I'd never met, and her grandmother that I'd never met as well, sitting at a table together.
Okay.
And so I was asleep, and that was the dream. And then I was house sitting at the time at a different house. And then I was woken up in the middle of the night because the shower turned on by itself. And so I woke up to the sound of the shower being on, with this haze of remembering the dream of my friend and her mother and her grandmother. And I went to the shower and I was like, how the hell did this turn on? Like, nothing was leaking, nothing was loose. It was one of those taps that go down like this, and nothing had fallen to turn it on. So I just turned the shower back off. And then I was like, interesting, the last place I was with Charlie, her mum, and her, sorry, I said her name, but it's okay. She's a trusted friend of mine, and she's aware of this story because I've already connected with her over this.
And I've got like 5 followers at this point.
Yeah, so. Cool. Yeah. And also she'll probably be like, hee hee, when she hears that I mentioned her as part of my story.
2 years down the track. There's going to be well over in the millions.
She'll be like, hey, I'm in this podcast.
Yeah,
listen.
You can worry about it then.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And so I messaged her the next day, even though I didn't know her very well. She was just an orbit in a community for me at that point. And I was like, hey, this is really random, but last night your mum and your grandmother were in my dream, and I feel like your grandmother is just trying to reach out to you, and maybe you're not picking up the call, so she's come to me instead. And she's like, oh my God, tomorrow or today, it was tomorrow is the anniversary of her death, and I've been really avoiding the feelings I've been having of her because it hurts, and she's not earthside anymore. So again, her grandmother came to me in my dream state to be able to connect with her granddaughter. And so then her and her mother had a beautiful ceremony to celebrate her, instead of her pushing her feelings away about how much it hurt that she misses her.
Wow.
So then she still gets to have access to her grandmother in her life, even though she's not earthside.
Yeah, so it seems like, again, not to intellectualize it too much.
No, intellectualize it, whatever the reference point is.
But yeah, it seems the thread is the commonality between these sort of interactions is there's this presence, whether it be in waking life or in a dream, this knowing of this spiritual being sort of coming to you, this energy coming to you, and you know that in and of itself is hard to prove to anyone else, but you yourself know there's that inner knowing, and then you do something actionable with that information, with that presence, and you connect with your friend and ask, hey, how's it going?
Because the message is for them.
And then you find out, oh my God, I was just thinking about them.
Yeah.
It's her anniversary of her death.
Which is massive.
That's huge.
That's what life is about, is these connections and the threads and the realness. The things that we can't actually grasp in the physical world are the real paths in life. All this stuff is just being created from that space of creativity and idea. So it doesn't have to become tangible for it to be real.
Because I guess none of it was tangible to begin with.
Yes.
Do you have any other crazy stories that pop to mind?
It's still a similar kind of thread of what I've been talking, and I'm not sure if it gives you the material substance you're after.
That's fine. I'm not going to force it.
Yeah. Cool.
I was just curious.
Yeah.
As I said before, like, there's no rules, and I think it's just the conversation that's important, that I'm interested in.
Okay.
Well, cool. I've got a question for you.
Yeah, please.
This is random, right? So you may not have any thoughts on it, and don't force any thoughts. So if you don't,
I can't force. I'd chill, you know.
Yeah. Yeah. What am I saying? I'm not. I don't need to tell you that.
Yeah, I know.
No, just because it's topical, and I asked another lady who I interviewed on Zoom on the weekend the same thing. But you know what's been like bugging me recently? That's been happening in current events, and this is not to be a political conversation at all, but that failed assassination attempt of Trump.
Right?
Did you see the
I've
video?
heard of it. I haven't seen the video.
You didn't see the video?
No. What happens in the video?
We're recording on both devices. I'll show you later.
Yeah.
Okay.
Maybe share it for the sake of
Yeah. I'll explain it anyway.
Yeah.
What do you know about it? Just that he was...
It was a fatality.
It was a
Because
fatality.
I heard that he
Okay.
got shot at, and my response was, did he die?
Right.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Well, the thing is, I've just been listening to this podcast on this idea of chaos theory.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the idea that, I guess, the butterfly effect.
Yes.
You know, butterfly flaps its wings in South America and causes a war in Europe. I don't know if that's the exact quote, but
it's not. But
No.
Also is the chain of it's the ripple effect.
Yeah.
You know, the butterfly effect.
The butterfly effect, which makes total sense to me. And anyway, this, you'll see it in the video when I show you later, but he turns his head and he turns his head to the right to reference a screen or something that he was
talking about.
talking to, referencing, yeah. And as he turned, the bullet flew and cut his ear.
Wow.
And if he had not turned, or if he had gone to turn a second later, the bullet was in direct line with his head and he would have been assassinated. And then I'm seeing all the stuff on my TikTok algorithm, which I take with a grain of salt because your algorithm shows you what you've been watching and interacting, engaging with. So complete grain of salt. But there's all these people saying we entered a different timeline. That everyone here, all of us here right now, chose this timeline. There's parallel universes going on all the time, and there was another timeline where he didn't turn his head in time and he was assassinated. It just got me thinking, like, whether the parallel universe thing and timeline thing is real. It was just, and of course he has, whether he truly believes this or not, he's obviously taken that moment and said it was by the grace of God that I survived. I think maybe he does actually believe it, though. I actually do think that.
I think that was part of him waking up a little bit too, you know?
Yeah. It just got me thinking, like...
that there's more than what he's doing. There's more to life than what he's dictating for the country of America, you know? Because he almost got murdered for the way he's been operating, right? So then all of a sudden he's found God because of that, for the grace of God. And God is within us, you know. God is around us. God is that thread and that essence, you know. It's whatever it is that you believe in that is beyond this funny little human thing that we're doing. And it's taken a bullet coming towards his face for him to be like, oh, you know.
Because he's always talked about God, and I suppose...
Has he?
Well, but it's easy, like, you know, he panders, right? He's a politician, so, you know... think there's a lot of...
what extent does that go to?
So I take that with a grain of salt normally, because it's like, well, you know, if you want to pigeonhole...
This is great, by the way.
Good tea? Lady Grey, my favourite tea. Good with the honey?
It is, and without the milk.
And without the milk, because Shan's a vegan. And I was like, is this going to work?
Eats honey.
Hold on, I was just going to say, that doesn't work. No, okay, but happy bees.
Happy bees making honey.
Yeah.
If it's ethically sourced, which I didn't ask, but...
I just hoarded a bunch of bees from Sarah's Organics myself, whipped them into action.
If they're from Ceres, I think they're all right.
But it was some black market level shit.
Oh, no.
I whipped them in. I said, look, honey's expensive. I could make something from this. I need to put you guys to work. Created my own little hive. They didn't like it. Oh,
no.
It's probably bad energy.
Having their evil nectar.
Yeah.
Anyway.
But yeah, I think it's easy for him to claim votes on the Republican side as to say he's Christian and all that. So I always took that with a grain of salt. But his demeanour seemed different, and how could it not be after nearly dying, being shot? But it just, I don't know where I'm going with this, but it's just been bugging me, because how different the world not just could have been, would have definitely have been, had he been assassinated.
Yeah.
Think about, he's the most like charged, like politically charged, controversial sort of figure at such an incredibly divisive time in America that I don't think it's far-fetched to say that when you take into account chaos theory, butterfly effect, the ripple effects of these things, I don't think it's far-fetched to say that that could have led to a civil war.
True.
What does that then mean for America's place in the world? What does that give rise to with Russia and China? I mean, it's just...
And what's an eruption of within everybody collectively too, for that to have concluded to that as well. Like there's a lot of... it's already gotten to a point where there is a group in energy that is frustrated enough to shoot at a human, you know?
Yeah, there's so many layers because
so many layers.
Like the shooter was, I don't know, I think he was like 21. He was a registered Republican.
Wow.
He had donated $15 to a progressive Democrat. The FBI went through his computer and phone and social media and they couldn't find... He wasn't part of like any crazy forums. So it was really bizarre. Like there's no known motive. How the fuck did the Secret Service even allow it to happen? He was on
so
a roof.
under the radar.
He was on a rooftop, like, you know, a few hundred meters away, directly parallel to the stage that Trump was speaking at. And this was in a small town in Pennsylvania.
Fascinating.
He just climbed on a barn roof or something. And
it wasn't a big operation. He was just sick of this guy.
Well, we don't know. He was a registered Republican. Was he depressed and wanting some attention and this is the way I'm going to go out? Like it might not have been political at all. I don't know. But
yeah, right.
It's just crazy because it's
That's true. I know.
America's so divided at the moment that how could it not erupt into absolute chaos? And there was still a chance after the event that it would erupt into chaos. Like I was expecting a Trump supporters going to be really angry but he handled it really well. He said the media, it was so unlike him. He said the media portrayed it fairly and accurately. I want to thank the Secret Service. He wasn't going into why did this happen? It was a setup. It was the CIA. I want to thank the Secret Service. It was by the grace of God. I want to pray for the other victim who was killed and two others who are still injured in hospital. And it was this new selfless
human.
Yeah.
Human coming.
And I was like, holy shit, we were like millimeters or milliseconds away from living in a completely different century, right? The whole course of humanity would have changed. So
what I'm seeing is this person that shot at him and missed as part of their destiny for whatever reason, whatever contract they signed before they came to Earth, so that Trump could be seen in his humanness.
Okay.
Globally. In his, for the grace of God, I'd like to pray for the people. We haven't seen much of that in him, right?
Not really.
Yeah, you know?
Not an authentic.
Yes, and that seems like something about that feels like a little real to me.
Yeah.
What did you feel when you watched it? I haven't seen it, so I could be off.
Yeah.
And maybe that's what the world needs to see on the screen.
Yeah.
Because we're definitely in a heart-opening time of the world at the moment.
Well, yeah, I mean, the general reaction, well, no, I can't say that for sure because there's also been a lot of really, really nasty comments on the left of, damn, just missed. Damn, only a second away, like, I wish he'd had better target practice, so close, all this horrible stuff. But there has also been a lot of unity sort of come from it that I've seen at least. And yeah, I don't know. We're yet to see whether this will carry through or whether that event will sort of be forgotten by him included, and he's sort of back to his old way. But I say back to his old way, it's like that's maybe there is good there, and there's a cheeky front, and there's a lot of there's bad that he's done, but how I like to think of Trump is but we know all his dirty laundry. It's everything is transparent. He's done some maybe questionable and perhaps even illegal business activity, and he slept with a prostitute and paid her off. It's scandalous stuff. Sure, it's crazy, but we know everything about him.
We know his misogynism.
We know all of it, and he doesn't And I think once you get past that, it's okay, so we know all of that, and so what else has he got to offer? And I just wondered whether, I don't know. Do you think that, because I guess there's so many events in history that you can point to where someone like Trump was shot. I mean, we had 2 world wars, and it's well, if there's fate and universal guidance and stuff that comes into play, why did that allow for all of these horrific wars? So why is it any different with Trump? Maybe it is just simply a crazy coincidence. What are your feelings though? Do you feel that there was some sort of divine intervention, so to speak?
I think that there is no separateness between spirit and life. And sometimes I don't know what the answer is straight away, but I trust in time it will reveal itself. So I feel like nothing's dropping in as an answer for that one. But time will tell.
Time will tell.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it also seems like a pattern. There's been a lot of assassination of leaders in America, and they're not getting the message. When are they going to get rid of the guns? That's where my mind goes a little bit.
Perhaps.
Maybe he can get rid of the guns now that he's been shot at. He worked for Australia.
Yeah. Perhaps, there's a lot of...
There's so much there.
There's so much that can be... that can come of it,
But there's a pattern that keeps repeating in history there.
Yeah, it's just moments like that where I'm just why did he turn his head in that moment? Coincidences happen all the time without any meaning per se. They're happening all the time. But
and also catastrophe happens without any meaning behind it too. And sometimes we get lost in trying to fester and find a meaning in it, but we're wasting our time just stewing and stirring that pot instead of coming back to the sense of ease and openness and letting that guide us. Because there's all this and this has been interesting too, with now that we're on the kind of political side, is everything that's happening in with Gaza and Palestine, and it breaks my heart. It breaks my fucking heart. And there is a part of me that just wants to be there and hold space for the pain that people are experiencing. But there's also something else in me that knows that I reach more by being in my privilege here and being a guiding light of peace and love on the other side of the world, in my safety and all these things, that is birthing the new world. So that eventually in space or time, even if it's not this lifetime for me, that the wounding from that catastrophe will have access to what I'm creating over here. So it feels like I'm walking this path, I'm creating it as I'm walking it, and I've got other divine light leaders with me. We can't fix, it's so clear, we cannot fix the old world and the old system. The people who created it are suffering, and they're trying to scramble for anything that they can attach to. And it's a waste of energy, but that's where they're at in their spiritual kind of ascension at the moment. That's where they're at in their journey, and that's what they're learning at that time. But I'm over here, and my help and the way that I'm contributing to this shifting and changing is by putting my energy into believing in what it is that I see that is peace and love and connection and community. And if I take that energy and keep trying to fix things that keep getting recreated, then this world doesn't get birthed. You know, so like that's what I'm busy doing. So I kind of observe all this catastrophe and don't absorb it, because I'm just like, noted, this brings more purpose to why I'm doing this. So the boundary, you know? And recognizing that has been hard too, because I spent most of my life collecting, transmuting, releasing other people's shit.
Yeah.
You know, but now I have a little portal of doing that for people in my business and in my work. I'm like, show me what you got. What do you need to... Because our session was like, it was a beautiful light discovery session. But sometimes people are coming to me because they've just had a stillbirth. You know, their partner just got murdered. They, like, there's so many... I've seen and heard so many stories. Maybe they've just been raped. You know, trigger warning. I should have said trigger warning. Maybe they've just been sexually assaulted. You know, so I'm holding space for them to help them release the threads and understand where the root of that came from in their journey, in their life, you know. But I used to spend my life walking around the world just collecting that from anywhere on the street until I learned my boundaries and learned my purpose, to understand how powerful that is in creating something more beautiful that we're all really aching for. So that's why I don't spend too much time in... festering into trying to understand the why Trump moved his head, because that's already happening and I'm already doing this, you know? But it's interesting to also hear about it and to understand.
No, that makes a lot of sense. I think that, especially with social media, people with who are otherwise well-intentioned are consumed by a certain political event, a cause, a war, a famine. And it's like, it's beautiful to see, but then it erupts into something beyond.
Yes, it keeps continuing.
Yeah, and
fed.
It becomes nasty. It becomes about the intellectual argument with other people online as to why this is good or bad. Yeah. And it just, and I was wrapped up in a lot of that myself, but it just occurred to me, like, how much energy and time is wasted
ruminating.
Yeah, ruminating, and also like just arguing, and if you really, really, really cared about something, like there could be a lot more efficient ways of spreading love, and it may be indirect, right?
Yeah.
It's like what you're talking about. It's like there's all these awful things going on in the world, and you may not be able to help directly with that war or that cause or whatever it may be, but you know, hand on heart, you're doing good in your life. Yeah. You're doing your little bit, and it's not a little bit.
Ripples. That's the butterfly effect.
Yeah. The people that you meet, that you work with, who leave these sessions feeling more inspired, feeling more grounded, more connected, what good do they then go on to do in their lives?
You know?
Yeah.
So sometimes I've got women coming in and what their job is creating the laws that protect women from things like sexual violence. And that's a lot of kind of things that that you can sometimes accidentally take that home because you've had to read something that's really uncomfortable. You know, so then I'm helping them release that energy so they can continue doing their bit in society and in the world that's going on. Or I have psychologists or people who do like look after the system of foster care and kids who grow up in domestic violence, and they come in because they're exhausted. They're like, I don't know how to help. It's like, it's endless, you know? But I'm just like reminding them what you're doing is making a difference. You just don't see it land straight away in front of you. But you're part of the system that is trying to create some kind of shift in this pattern that is continuing. So me helping you knows I'm helping that, and it continues and ripples and goes beyond, you know. And it's so rewarding. It's so rewarding, you know. Or I've got, you know, the divine masculine men who are holding big spaces for, you know, raising their family and just everything. It's like, it's so clear how everything is so intricately, intimately connected, you know? And sometimes we just get bigger expressions of a wounding that is behind it. So when I think about history, I feel like you break down the word, it is his story, you know? So history, that's a lot of the masculine experience in the world. So the wars and, you know, the Roman Empire that goes like a bit, the falling of that's a bit viral at the moment, and the patriarchy and all those things, like that's history. But what about her story? Her story, you know, like that's the kind of realm that I'm in, because the history is already it's repeating itself, but I feel like there's an imbalance globally between masculine and feminine energy, and I spent so much of my life so far trying to collect, transmute, and release that. And as I'm doing that energy and moving those things around to transmute into something else, I'm watching it be recreated in front of me. So that's when I recognize I actually can't stop this process. All I have to do is create the new network. So then that's what I'm doing with my kind of energy. And there was something else that I had a point with when I was going there, but it kind of slipped and kind of disappeared. Where was I before that? So I feel like the kind of, thanks for holding that space. That was divine. That was helpful. These big exaggerated meteorized eruptions are showing us where the wounding is in the masculine energy that keeps repeating itself through war, through, like, if you look at what women are trying to do to heal things like, you know, the war in Palestine and Gaza and everything that's going on there, they're bringing their art and they're dancing in the middle of these things to raise the energy and to transmute it and to shift it, you know. So we're in this kind of global time where it's hard because women are angry, you know, because of the oppression of women. And I feel like I'm a feminist, but there is a stigma with feminism about them being angry, because what they tend to do is throw their pain at where it came from, instead of just letting that feminist portal be a place to channel and release that rage and then come back to your love and grace to then address and birth the new world. So I feel like we're in this time where we don't want to take over. The women who are still angry want to take over because they want to be spiteful and give back. But the women who are still in their hearts and their love that are feminists just want us to be equal and come back to that merging and union, because it's very clear for me that the imbalance in the world at the moment is the feminine energy. And it's really nice to connect with you, to hear how you, in what seems like a very healthy masculine energy, otherwise I wouldn't be sitting in your apartment with you, because I trust my intuition and my pulls when I connect with people. Because I've been a lot.
You're saying I'm good with women.
I take it back.
What can I say?
I'm saying
that's the masculine side coming out. That's the ego. Like, yeah,
you would have been better.
She said she's comfortable. Like,
if you were I'm not now.
Yeah.
You know, if you were humble and you were like, thank you.
No, run that back. Play that part back. Actually, I'm going to clip that. I'm going to clip that out of context. Recently single. We'll put it on a I don't know if Hinge and all that have an audio thing. I could just clip that, like, yeah, I do a podcast, 1 million subscribers. This is what one of my guests had to say. I'm really comfortable with your feminine energy
and your masculine energy, and your masculine energy. You know, because the masculine energy was the part where you didn't try to interfere with what I'd lost. You just waited, you know, until I could find it again.
I would have thought my masculine energy would have been interrupting.
That would be the toxic masculine energy.
So do you think that's interesting you should bring that up? Because I've had a lot of, like, again, they're like intellectual arguments, right? But, you know, online, and I'm just done with Instagram because I just end up in arguments with people.
Yeah,
and
you needed the breather.
Yeah, and also it's pointless because people, like, aren't seeing you in person, like seeing your intent. It's just like words. Yeah. But I don't know, like, yeah, like I get a feeling of resistance when I hear that term toxic masculinity.
Okay.
Because it just, like, why can't it just be that you don't hear the term toxic femininity?
I call it manipulative, like dark femme. Maybe it's
Dark femme.
yeah,
Shit.
because the feminine energy is manipulative, right?
Oh, I've experienced that.
Yeah, but there is good manipulation. The feminine energy is manipulative. You know what I was saying before we were recording about how the feminine is the behind the scenes energy that makes the, and we use that example of a heterosexual gendered relationship where the man is out doing the work and the woman goes to the shops to go and get all the things and come and make the food. That is manipulative, because what she's doing, she's seeing what her man is doing, and then she's creating the space and container for him to be able to be provided for, to be able to do what he needs to do. But she's doing it out of love. So that is the healthy feminine manipulation. If a woman is doing the manipulative things out of spite, out of control, out of just for herself instead of the bigger picture of the whole of the love, then that is the wounded feminine. And that is the toxic feminine. So she's only doing it for for herself to receive instead of how it affects everything. Then that's the wounded feminine instead of the healthy manipulative feminine, because the feminine energy is manipulative. It collects, it transmutes, it turns it around, and it releases it. You know? So to connect with a woman in her healthy feminine is to recognize and acknowledge that she is being manipulative for the greater good, for everybody to be happy in that space instead of for just what she gets out of it. Because the experience you've had with being manipulated by a woman means that you've been pulled different ways because of what they need. And we've covered a little bit of this already in our own, right? And that's okay, but in your divine masculine, what you do is you shine light on that and be like, I see what you're doing. Not with me, honey. Right?
I'll get a slap if I said that.
Well, then
can you imagine me saying that in my demeanour, in my tone, honey?
I would be very, I really respect when anyone calls me out of my stuff. Because if they don't, I'm just like, how am I going to grow as a human? If you let me play with my wounds and continue my wounds.
And that's interesting. I think a lot of men, because women can have that side of being quite manipulative and stuff. And
it's scary.
It's scary. And a lot of men, I guess this is where so-called toxic masculinity comes in. Like, either they fight back and it can be actually physical and horrible,
or sexual, or
But then on the other side, it's like same response but no action. So it's like internally like frustrated, but what can I do to like appease the woman because she's in this state at the moment, and I'm just gonna like go along with it, say what she needs to hear, what she wants to hear, do what she wants me to do, but like it is what it is because I can't deal with this energy. But then it like reinforces for the woman.
It does.
That
that's
it's okay.
the okay way to operate. So it's about stepping back, letting the heat settle, and then coming and still addressing it. You know, and being just like, hey, you were acting like this, or this is how I felt, this is what I can see. And of course they're going to be defensive and reactive because, damn, I don't want to do that to somebody I care about and somebody that I love, you know, and it's up to them as an individual, not as a woman, in what they want to do with that information. But the feminine is so wounded. We've been oppressed. Yeah. So it erupts in these kind of versions, and we need allies. We need good men to illuminate this in us without judgment. Like, I had some fears come up with my current partner, and all I wanted to do was put it into this orb and just throw it at him. Hey, it was like dragon energy. It was this ugly rear head so somatically inside of me. But in my consciousness, because I've done this kind of spiritual work and I've got an incredible coven of women that support me and understand my journey, so the sisterhood is very important when these things come up, so we can like talk about it. So maybe it's about when you engage with a woman who's going through that, call in your sisterhood, release that energy. I can't help you with it. You know, come back to me when the heat is settled and we can talk. But I knew that it wasn't him, it was the wound, because his grace and his divinity is illuminating in me times that I let in energy and love and masculinity that isn't as divine as his. And then I have to release that out of me, you know, so that I can come back to my purity and my softness and my openness, because the feminine is this constant unraveling. It's very exhausting.
It makes a lot of sense, because I think that the male response to feminism and to this term toxic masculinity has been quite defensive, and I understand why it's defensive.
Me too.
But then I also understand when you explain those definitions, those terms, it makes a lot of sense that women have been through shit.
Yes.
Like, and it's recent.
Yes.
It's like...
And we're only just opening our voices.
Yeah, and so
We've
of course
been silenced for centuries.
I'll just stop you there, but
Interesting. I was like, yeah, here we go. When I felt the rage come up.
Yeah. Hang on. Never interrupt me ever again. No, but...
I wasn't done talking, so...
Yeah.
And interesting how too, straight up, my conditioning a little bit was like, okay, we'll see, but also holding on to what it was. But anyway, and we're back.
And we're back. No, I'm sorry. I was joking. Please don't hurt me.
I'll cast a spell later. You'll notice.
Please don't. Oh my God. What the fuck? That is the ultimate female manipulation. Don't worry. Don't stress.
Yeah.
I'm going to cast a spell later.
And it's interesting when it comes to magic, and I am a witch.
Can we? Yeah, let's talk about this.
Yeah. So, but you were about to say something, but we'll come back to the witch thing. So let's get that out.
Yeah. I was just going to say
the boundary of magic.
Yes, because please, I would love to talk about that. But just to finish that, that thought. I guess males see all they see is the angry, emotional female energy, and to them, feminism seems like, because of this, like this passion and this like spitefulness that a lot of women carry with that energy, it's almost like they want to dismantle and you know,
they want to
dismantle the patriarchy and stuff. And it's like, whoa, like we're chill, like we're for equality, but like you want to like
come in and take down our foundations,
take down shit. Like it's all good. Like let's work together. And so, but it makes sense. Like how
I was talking about this with a friend on the weekend.
Yeah, how could you not? I guess it makes sense from what you're saying. It's
where we're up to in our evolution of being able to participate in the world, because we wanted to work. You know, and then we started working, and then we recognized that the system of the patriarchy actually doesn't fit with our cyclical way of being. We don't have a circadian rhythm. We have 4 seasons in a month with different hormonal cycles. So that's what I'm doing with birthing this new world, trying to create so we can live alongside each other, you know, instead of us trying to come in and be like, help me.
I have heard that.
Yeah.
That
it's a network, it's a web when it comes to the womb energy.
Because normally I would like brush this off as like, oh my God, that's just like an excuse. That's just like wanting preferential treatment. But when it was explained to me that like the 9 to 5 work lifestyle,
our cycle
doesn't like biologically
doesn't
work for a female. And so you get females who are like,
and we live in a system that has separated women from community. Women need women. Because when we're all together, we all sync up with our cycle too.
Yes.
You know, so then because we live in a system that physically separates us, like it was interesting, last week, all of us felt this energy going on with our bodies and our womb. And my womanhood, my sisterhood came in full flock at once. Are you feeling it too? Are you feeling it too? The weather was wild. It was storming. Everything was going on. So we started connecting and talking about what was coming up, and we cleared all that and transmuted all that. And now the sun's out today, you know, because we don't live in community anymore, where we can have these very important spiritual conversations, because men are out doing what they think is important in the material world, but we're living and breathing and doing the spiritual ancestral depatterning work, and then we still have to go to work, we still have to try to provide for ourselves. We're fucking tired and we're angry, you know, because I'm experiencing and expressing the rape of my ancestors that had, you know, 37 kids and half of them died because they didn't have chance and opportunity to move through those things. And I'm having to show up in this human muggleness and feel that in the inside of my bones and my blood while still doing everything else that I'm doing. It's a lot, you know.
It's a lot to carry.
It is a lot, but I believe in my magic, and I believe in my love, and I believe in the masculine, and I believe in the beautiful support and protection that creates for me as well. And I've chosen to not contribute to the matrix and step out of it and live cyclically with my cycle. So for example, I track my cycle throughout the month or the 28 days. And so when I'm, it's like summer, autumn, winter, spring, internally for a woman, every 28 days. So your autumn is like the week of 10 days before your bleed arrives. And that is just like autumn. It's when your leaves start to drop. It's when your energy starts to get really returned to yourself because the uterus is releasing its old cells. And so that means your energy is coming a lot more inward and you don't have much space and patience for anybody else. But then the prefrontal cortex part of your brain switches on. It's fascinating. So that's when I do all my admin. That's when I set up my whole next month because I'm just full source, full intellectual, full in my masculine. You know, so that's when I set up that whole structure for my next month. Then when my bleed comes, I have my space and my time to be, that's when the veil is really thin between this world and the underworld and the spiritual world. So that's when I tap in with what steps I need to take. It's when I recognize, it's when I hear more voices. It's when I am more creative and I want to paint and I want to sing and I want to dance and I want to be alone and by myself. And it's also when I start to recognize what I did last month that took away from my energy. And when my bleed comes, that's my winter, you know? So I've gone from autumn to winter and I'm in the hibernation mode. And then after those first couple of days, I start to come into spring, which is my luteal phase, which is when my energy starts to rise again and they start to come out and they're more fluttery and feeling a little bit better. And we see women like that when they're like skipping down the street and their hair's flowing and they're glowing, you know? And then boom, comes summer, full fucking bloom, ovulation. I'm a pollinated flower. All the bees are here. I'm social. I want to dance. I want to see all my friends. I have my clients booked up because I've got so much energy. I'm going to like, give me everything you got, bees. Like I'm a full pollinated flower. And then those petals start to drop again and they come back into my autumn. So women live cyclically and that's within a month.
That's just
and
1 month.
This is their life as well.
Yeah.
So there's bigger versions of these 4 cycles in a woman's life. So winter is their crone energy when they're old and they don't bleed anymore.
Okay.
That's their winter. That's when they're unapologetic.
So there's a whole season of your life that's winter. That's depressing.
So it's powerful.
It's powerful?
Think about winter, how like inward, how creative we get, how we go really introspective. Think of grandmother energy. She'll tell you what the fuck is up. She don't give a damn how it makes you feel.
Yeah.
It's unapologetic. That is your full feminine power. You've had all 4 seasons already. You know everything. You know the truth of experience in life. We all came to earth through the portal of a woman's womb. So who the fuck are we to disrespect the cycle of that? You know? And when women are in their mother phase, whether or not they have children, was when they're a full pollinated flower. It's when a mother is able to govern and manage a husband, 3 children if she has 3 children, her full-time job, her friends that have problems. They're in their full bloom, full pollination. Then there is like teenagehood, which is spring. They're really fertile. You know, they're starting to come into their puberty. They're starting to come like their early 20s. They're starting to discover who they are and things are a little bit more sensual and soft, but you've got to be careful with them. Otherwise, you're going to make them a little bit wounded and they're not going to grow properly. And then there's a little girl who is like summer and bliss and beauty and light. You see it in children's faces, you know? So as a woman's life is cyclical. And as a good man, we respect the full beauty of that cyclical living and don't interfere with that process and just wonder what the garden needs so it can do its best.
Mm.
And if you're a woman and you go into the roots of your garden and the soil of your garden, sometimes there's soggy roots in there from your ancestors that you need to get out. And that's what we're busy doing all the time behind the scenes while still showing up and contributing to the patriarchy. So sometimes we're not in the mood because we're feeling the miscarriage our mother had, you know, or we're feeling the pain of our sick auntie, or the pain of our dad whose father used to abuse him, you know?
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's very interesting.
It's funny because, well, it's not funny.
I know what you mean by funny.
Yeah, but there's a bit of resistance before even saying this, which is kind of telling, perhaps. But fuck, like, women are pretty impressive, eh?
Fuck yeah.
It's like I didn't want to admit, like.
And also, we're also sitting back and being like, okay, we see what yous are doing. Come back to us already.
It's because I don't want to come across as pandering. Like, I'm sitting here with you, you're a woman, you're sharing your story. I'm like, oh my God, yeah, oh yeah.
I don't need to be told, I know, I live it.
You live it. But then like, I could be sitting with a guy who's like sharing all the like more intellectual like arguments as to like why
it's difficult,
why men also have it hard, and why it's like this, that, and the other thing, and I'll be like, yeah, bro, like exactly, bro, and the other thing is da 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 da. But maybe I just need to accept that there are both of those sides, and if you just come at both of them with kindness.
Yeah, and like I don't disregard what the masculine is going through. I see the suffering and pain and work that is going on there. And I'm like, what do you need for help? You know, like how can I support what it is that, whether it's my friendships, whether it's something that I don't understand yet, whether it's, you know, the pain and the frustration and the rage of things that they've been wronged by. Like, how can I help? But don't expect it from me. Don't expect me to be a full pollinated flower all the time and then disregard me when I'm in my winter phase. Love me through all of it. Mm-hmm. You know, and don't just go take from another woman's pollinated flower when she's pollinating, you know? So it's kind of just like respecting the different processes of whatever gender somebody feels that they live and be. And I think, we're just like, part of my purpose too is to, out of all the pain and oppression that my own lineage has been through, I feel like part of my purpose is to share the wisdom from those things instead of the pain. Like that feminist kind of group can continue to just be like this, and throw it all and be mad and continue ruminating on that. It's kind of like, I'm channeling this rage up the volcano to let it erupt out of the volcano, and as it dries, to create the new earth that we all get to dance on, but not forget what was beneath that. You know? And this happened to me when I was in, because my process in my life journey has been like, I'm so good at just burning it all and starting again. You know, this is the feminine energy, this is how it works. And something I'm learning to master at the moment in my womanhood. Womanhood's wild, it just gets bigger and bigger, it never ends. Like puberty's just the beginning. And I'm sure it's similar experience for men too. But it feels like such a massive portal. It can be a bit of a black hole. You've got to keep yourself attached to the light because the underworld is massive. And I was hiking Mount Batur in Bali with my love. And have you been to Mount Batur?
No, but we were in Bali for 3 months in 2022. But yeah, everyone would meet people that would get up for sunrise.
Yeah, it's beautiful. Very spiritual mountain, a very spiritual volcano. And what's interesting is we hiked down the back with our friend Michael as well, and we could see where the volcanic ash or lava had erupted in the past and dried, and it was all this like black earth, you know, cracked. And I was thinking about how I was in this process of my life at the moment of, you know, burning everything that no longer needs to be so that I can start into the next new phase of my life. And then there's this monk's temple in the middle of the lava. So there's a monk's temple and there's black lava all the way around it. So that means that when the volcano fucking erupted, it destroyed everything in its path except for this monk's temple. And the Balinese told us that the monks in that temple prayed and prayed and prayed and prayed when the volcano was erupting to not let the lava overtake their temple.
Wow.
Yeah, and that's why it's protected and that's why it still stands. The monks still died because of the pollution and the air and the heat from the lava, but the temple remains. And what came through for me in that kind of pilgrimage as I was hiking this Mount Batur was, I can choose what to pray for in my spiritual life, in my connections, in whatever it is within me that gets to continue while my energy destroys whatever no longer serves me, because that's the cyclical living. So that's something I'm learning to master at the moment, being like, okay, this needs to go, but this gets to stay. Because of my pattern is just being like, nah, fuck this, all of it go, start again. But I'm feeling hesitancy and be like, I don't want to start again. There's some people I still love. I don't want to let it all go. I've worked really hard for these parts of myself, but recognizing that I don't have to let it all go. I get to be intentional in what continues and what needs to die. Because life is like birth, death, renewal. It's a continuous cycle. So many versions of us die while we live. I've been so many women. I've been 100 different women and I'm 30, and they're all with me. And I used to shame some of them and be like, no, you can't come, hey, like you go back over there. But then that keeps her living inside of me now in a shameful sense. So I'm just like, oh, hon, trust me, it gets better. I love you. Keep coming. And then that voice she hears from me, I think I spoke this to you, I bet to you in the session, the timelines aren't separate. Past, present, and future aren't separate. So when I today look at old wounded Shan and be like, come on, babe, let that person go, take that job, get on that ship, do this thing. That was the voice that she heard, which was today's Shan, loving her, that got me to here today. So here today, when I get clear about what voice is future Shan and where she's telling me to go, is what magnetizes my future and my purpose to me sooner. And that is the voice I listen to, not the voice of people being like, oh, come do this with me, or, oh, don't do that podcast, it's too scary. And when you're not listening to future your voice, then your friend who's on the other side, who knows what your whole timeline is because she's got a higher perspective of the world now, not being earth side, comes to Shan to bring us together to be like, listen to your divine, listen to your path, listen to your voice. So you've got it. You're just clearing the conditioning you've been born into that's pulling you other ways because they want your source. This has been fun.
Yeah, that's beautiful.
Yeah.
Do you want to talk about witchy stuff?
Yeah.
Spells and...
Yeah.
Well, before we start, we're going to burn that Palo Santo.
Yeah, let's do that. Let's burn some Palo Santo.
Oh, yeah, that's perhaps a better way of pronouncing it.
That's okay.
I'm just also going to close this window.
All right.
It's cold, getting a bit cold.
It's not going to be able to hear you from
No, yeah, I realised that. I started yelling.
Yeah, so
yeah, maybe I should just come and sit down normally. So because it's a beautiful, like, earthy smell, right?
Yeah, it is a beautiful earthy smell. I'm pretty sure it's South American.
Yes. And what is it used for and what is the purpose? Should I stop?
No, you're fine. My understanding of it, and it might not be as authentic as it could be, so I don't want to culturally appropriate something that I know is used in really...
This could just be from someone's garden, eh? Like it's a wood chip.
There's definitely industrialized versions of it, but like it's still Palo Santo. But my understanding of it is a prayer to transmute energy in the space, to call in what you wish to bring into the space.
So should we say something?
Yeah, think about what you want to bring into the space.
Can you lead it?
I think that...
or should I do it?
I think this is your time to give it a go.
So what do I do?
You burn it. Light it on...
Do I think of something first? Or do I burn it and then...
I
what are the
think
rules?
it's nice. I think what is important whenever it comes to ritual and magic is to trust whatever's dropping in, whatever your heart feels. You know, because if you
I don't know what that is. I don't know what...
All right, cool. So maybe what you're calling in is to connect with your heart space and your intuition.
Because I'm thinking, like, should I just wish for... Like, I want to make a wish.
Why?
I don't know.
What's the wish?
I don't know.
You don't know?
No, I do. No, like...
You don't want to say it?
No, like, something like, you know, like...
Okay.
Want this podcast to do well. And
that's a beautiful wish. That is
Okay.
a beautiful wish.
Okay.
And it is safe because if we're talking about magic, I think this is important for me to bring up now. It's important to operate from the boundary of magic. Okay, so this is where we go into manipulative feminine, that is dark femme, and wounded feminine versus love and truth and birth and life, you know, of the healthy feminine. So if you're operating from the healthy feminine, which is for the greater good, right? So what's your intention of making the podcast? Is it so you're seen in the world? Is it so you look really good? Is it so you pick up chicks? Or is it because you believe in what
I hadn't thought of that, but that's a good one.
But also, yeah, so maybe...
No, I tell you what it is. It's
to share
that sounds lame, but it's like a lifelong calling of like...
Why does it sound lame? That sounds beautiful.
Because it's what I was telling you the other day. It's that like tall poppy syndrome, I suppose.
Yeah.
It's you want to... New Zealanders and Australians too, you know, like you're taught to be humble, and their meaning of the word humble is don't celebrate your own success. Don't you dare. And we'll do that for you on our terms. And what it encourages is this culture of everyone's scared to be their authentic selves, and the ones who are successful in being their authentic selves, we all just put them down. Or it's like...
because you haven't been able to break through that what they've been able to break through to get there.
And the most insecure people I know are the ones that are constantly like... And I'm guilty of it too. I've participated in it and probably still participate in it. Are the ones that... you know, put others down behind their back or like gossip and stuff.
Yeah.
And then I guess because I know that I'm capable of that side, like I have participated in gossip, and I do have people in my life who are great people, but perhaps due to their own conditioning or insecurities, they often put down other people's success, like find the cringe thing in it, find the...
eliminate that.
Yeah, he or she is not really that successful because came from a wealthy family, or but like, do you really want to be like that type of successful? They're fucking cringe like this. So like when I say something like I feel I have a voice to share or a means of connecting with interesting people, and I want to share that with the world, my immediate thought after that is like, be humble. Like, come on, bro.
Slow down.
You don't think you're like...
That doesn't sound like your voice. That's not what future voice is telling you.
Yeah, well, I guess that's...
Gotcha.
Wow, you did get me.
So also, you know you're on your path because what you're doing is you're healing the versions of you who used to operate that way. By changing the trajectory of how you operate and facing these things and still leaning in, you know? You're creating a new path that isn't continuing the wounded masculine, the fearful masculine, and also being brave enough to name those fears on the podcast, you know? Because that's real.
Yeah, it's like I'm fine acknowledging all that, but then whether I actually like go all in and execute.
You're
is
already
another-
doing it.
Yeah.
Maybe this is a teething process and it's not one that comes out. I don't mind.
It is. No, it's fine. It's no. It's all about.
It
the
might be one
journey
that
as
comes
well.
later to help people.
Yeah.
You know.
And the frustration there is that I've had this knowing my whole life, but have allowed
that to be in the way.
Yeah, and allowed that suppression.
So what we want to do is call in support of spirit and trust in the divine in this path. And we want to call in people who are going to support and believe in this work, you know, and who are going to feel inspired by me, and what I meant by me was you, inspired by you and your ability to still do this despite haters. You know, haters gonna hate. Don't worry about what I'm doing, worry about why you're worried about what I'm doing, you know? So let's bring in trust, and let's bring in truth and courage that this is safe to be doing. And whatever support is there, including your friend who's passed away, she's here, you know? That's what you stay connected to when those other thoughts come in to get you through. And it's good to blow it out because then the smoke comes. Nice. And I like to cleanse my aura with it. So I kind of just move it around intuitively. Yeah, nice. Under the feet is good. Yeah. And it's nice to open a window too, to let the old energy out. Oh, is this hard to open? This one?
Yeah, flip that up and
This
push.
one?
Give it a good, just give it a good push.
Oh yeah, cool. Just a little bit of air. Yeah, cool. I'm going to cleanse my energy too, if that's cool.
And so when you're...
And make a little portal. What we're doing. What were you going to say?
Well, just when you're ready...
You've got crystals.
Yeah.
Nice.
I had a crystal collection when I was like 7. I loved
You've got
crystals.
it. See, look at all this conditioning getting in the way of your magic. Good segue, magic.
Magic.
So when it comes
Talk to me about magic.
When it comes to magic, it's important to operate from the boundary of love, because otherwise you're dabbling into black magic after that.
I don't want to do that.
No.
I had a podcast Zoom interview on the weekend, and it was about black magic.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so
it's a story about black magic.
Yeah, cool.
It was fucking scary.
Yeah, I've had a lot of experience with black magic. And part of my ancestral de-patterning is I come from a line of women who have operated through black magic, and then I've come along to stop and break that cycle, and it ends with me. I'm choosing love and light, and it's a very visceral thing, like that dragon head I talk about that comes up. That is the manipulated, wounded feminine that all my ancestors before me have chose to operate from. It's very easy for me to just like and to burn it all and to fuck someone up in that sense. But I don't choose to operate from that. I choose the love, and I love that part of me, and it balms it and it soothes it. And now me and that monster of friends, we're just like, hey, you don't control me anymore.
Can you do that cat hiss again? That's scary. You do that too well. You've done that before, haven't you?
I know it, you know? And I've had to do it to protect myself because there's a lot of dark
Well, you've
masculine.
hissed at people.
I've had to hone my wolf mother energy, my powerful energy to protect myself because the world is not safe for women. I've had to Medusa some people, you know? Of course.
What does that mean?
Medusa? The story?
No, what is, as a verb, to Medusa someone?
It means to give them the look of turning them to stone, to not let them near you.
Can you show me what that looks like? Or you can't because it's a feeling?
It's not necessary because you're safe.
Yeah, but I want to know what that looks like.
Okay, you need to keep your eyes open when you're on a tram next, because the women all sit like this. Mm-hmm. Because if they're relaxed like this, old mate down the tram will be sending their seedy dick vibes to them, you know? So some women are really like make themselves small and tight to like not be looked at because they don't want to let that energy in.
Right.
And other women like me will be in their queenness and in their openness because they've worked hard to get there, and still be in my openness. But if they even think about turning their head toward me, I will give them a fucking look that is like, buddy, back the fuck up. You know?
I just saw it just then.
You saw a little bit.
I saw a little bit, so that was like 10%. Holy shit. Okay.
So that's how we have to kind of protect our energy sometimes. So when it comes to magic, if you're operating from the boundary of love because you have good intention, then that's what is birthed in the world. But if you're operating on the outside of that boundary and you're putting a spell with your feminine energy, whether you're a man or a woman or a they or whatever you feel you are, into something that is only for your benefit, then you're going to get karma, it's going to blow up, it's going to come back to you, and it's going to be disastrous.
So tell me, like...
So I had an ex, his mother had a spell on him, and also had a spell, my mother's also had a spell on me.
What?
I know, yeah.
Consciously they cast a spell?
Well, his mother did on his father. That's how she called him in. She his father found a conversation between the mother and grandmother of his partner, so his partner and their mother, of her wanting to pull this man in because she loved him, and she was too afraid to be vulnerable and open and loving with her love, that she chose instead to operate from her fear and her manipulation because of the oppression in her own line, to pee on a photo of him and bury it in one of her pot plants in order to pull him into her life.
So you urinated on a photo of him?
Yep, and buried it in one of the pot plants in their house as a spell to keep him connected to her so that she could have access to his masculinity.
Holy fuck.
Yeah. And instead of facing herself and letting her heart open and connecting with him in a heart space, she used a spell, you know? And so when this man found it, because he heard the conversation on the phone, the message thing or whatever between the mother and the daughter, or the mother and his partner, of how to do it, he went through the pot plant, found the evidence of the photo being buried in the pot plant, and was just like, you've put a spell on me, you've lied to me, you've disrespected me, I'm leaving. So it came back and bit her in the ass, you know? Whereas she did a love spell, which is, a love spell is something like being honest and open with your partner and showing them all your cards of what you want to do in your life, you know? So it's like, hey, I'm meeting you, I'm connecting with you, I want to do this with my life, I want to open a flower shop, I see myself having some children, I want to, marriage isn't that important for me, or marriage is important for me. Then you're being honest and connecting with someone with your love. Where some women pretend that they don't want marriage and children, and then they use their sex to connect with somebody, and then they start to manipulate their partner and be like, actually, I want marriage and children, because that's a manipulative spell, right?
I've heard that a lot.
Yes,
I
and
feel
it's
like
okay.
That's common.
Yeah, it is common because it also changes. You know, like something happened in my pelvis last year that was a shift. I felt it in the bones of my pelvis. I didn't know if I was going to have children this lifetime, you know? And I still don't know if motherhood is a journey for me, but I feel the biological pull in me that is shifted, that is like, I could birth, you know? It's very biologically big. So it's a shift. So if I was in a long-term partnership with somebody and that was like safe and available, it'd probably be a conversation being like, yo, babe, I'm feeling different. I'm feeling motherhood, you know? So if it's not children, I need to do something with this energy, you know, instead of like trying to maybe stop taking contraception to then trap them with children or things like that. Yeah. So like magic is just feminine energy.
So what were the consequences of like him being put under the spell? And then was the spell broken when he found the pissed up picture? Yeah.
The spell was broken when he addressed the spell.
So was it like a toxic relationship where he felt stuck and he couldn't get away from her or something?
And she kept pulling him in because of the spell.
And you went out with the son of this couple.
Yeah.
And so...
And we were kind of breaking the spell of the mother to him in our relationship.
So was the spell passed down?
Yeah, she's a wounded woman who had children to get love.
Oh, he came from that.
Marriage, yeah.
Yeah, right. So
he was the offspring of that spell.
And so what did that mean for him?
That meant that he would sometimes have interesting plant falls. And he was also in my dream last night, so I'm trying to not let his energy in because he's not worthy of my essence, but he's on the radar at the moment, and that's okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, this fell. Because I'm letting go of him still, He really hurt me.
That was...
But it's part of the process. It's part of the cycle of life and death and renewal.
You just brushed over that.
Because it's life.
No, but it was just, I don't know. I've never seen... I know that leaves fall from plants, but I've never seen a leaf unless it was like nearly dead fall off, and that looked like somewhat healthy.
It's a sacrifice.
It's like somewhat healthy, and it just...
it's still a bit juicy, isn't it?
And it just like fell off quite loudly as you were talking about that. So sorry, carry on.
No, that's okay. Maybe I'll learn it later.
You just glossed over that, but I just had to bring that up.
Yeah, that's okay because I forget that this is new for you. Where this happens all the time in my life because this is
so
my
what
messages.
What did that represent just then?
For me, this is part of my letting go process. You know? And it also happened when I went like this, to be like, I'm not letting him into my realm. So him in his, like we were very connected. We were in love. So it was like he knows even now in our separateness when I open up to his energy because he comes back in. I feel his presence. But I also, until he addresses the thing that he threw at me to break us up, I don't have space for him. It's like, this is still here. I'm not doing this work for you. That doesn't make sense.
So the spell against his father was broken, but he was nevertheless still the offspring.
Yes.
That was birthed through that spell.
Yes.
And was that addressed? Does he still have that spell hanging over him?
Yeah, because he came to me with it asking for help.
Is that how you met him?
It's not how I met him. It just came up as we got to know each other. So he shared with me, he's like, I think my mother has a spell on me. And I'm like, yeah, I think so too. I feel it sometimes. And so we started talking about ways to address it. And it was very prevalent in the way their relationship started to erupt because my magic is love and truth and freedom. So I encouraged him to have honest and open conversations with her, which obviously sent her and the way that she's used to operating, and it crumbles her world around her. And she went quite manic, and she also has opportunity to still fix that and choose to connect with her son in a way that is more authentic and loving. And I trust that they'll figure it out, but I'm so grateful to not be caught up in that mess because I just want peace.
Fair enough. So is there no, antidote to these spells?
The antidote is addressing the spell.
So you can't, there's no, anti-spell where you, instead of urinating on the picture, you kiss the picture and hang it up. I don't know, you know what I mean? Is there something practical that undoes the spell?
Yeah, you get it. That's pretty, that could work. I feel like destroying the old spell and choosing a new bond is the antidote.
What are some examples of other spells, good or bad, that you have either yourself experienced or have heard of from clients or people? What are some other spells and stuff that you know of? Crazy shit. Tell me some crazy shit.
Sometimes women with their husband is going elsewhere to get intimacy, and the woman obviously knows because she feels it in her womb space, because she feels the base sacral energy of infidelity from her partner. And so what she'll do is she'll send a spell using her womb to banish the other woman from her man, and all of a sudden the man comes back to her and the energy isn't there anymore.
So these are women who are consciously using spells who are quote unquote witches, witchy
Yeah.
like energy. So
It's this feminine energy. Like, I'm all for reframing the word witch.
So are women
Which-
doing this unconsciously as well? Like
Yes,
without
there's
even
a lot of unconscious
without even
spells.
calling it witch energy and
Yes.
spells.
I feel like the wounded feminine, like the manipulative feminine we were talking about before, is the unconscious spells. So in our sisterhood, what we like to do is, when we notice one of the sisters is being manipulative or being controlling or operating from a lower vibrational space, we're like, what's behind that, hun? That must hurt. Bring it to us so we can release it, so you can choose to connect with your partner with love.
So what's another spell? What's some crazy spells that, like, you know, like what you described of pissing on a picture, burying it in a pot plant.
There's you can call something in with like your menstrual blood. You can write something on a piece of paper and put your menstrual blood on that piece of paper and burn it.
Is that dark energy?
It depends on what your intention is. Everything comes down to intention. So, for example, when I was releasing this particular partner that I've been talking about with the leaf, I went to a healer, and because I needed some help to release them, and she was like, "There's something in your house," and I was like, "I've cleared everything of them out of my house. They aren't in my house anymore." And she's like, "Check the drawer in your, like, my altar, you know." So I went to the drawer of my altar and I found this piece of paper. Then he had written both our names down, and it was a love contract, and he put it in my drawer. So I was like, you don't get to stay attached to me.
Wait, before, like, during the breakup? Like, he just left that
during
there.
our relationship, he had put a spell on me, you know?
What the fuck?
Yeah, because he understands black magic. He's from a mother line of black magic. So he wanted access to my light and my source. And when you're a healer and when you're a light, entities come in, you know? So what I did was I dipped that in my menstrual blood and I burnt it as a way to break the spell. And then I didn't feel their presence as much anymore.
Wow. Why are witches always women? Can men do spells?
Yeah, men are just as magical.
What's a spell I can do, like, for good? Or is that...
It's intuitive.
Is it always
like... It comes over in a trance state. So it's like something you just naturally find yourself doing.
Well, what's the difference between, like, setting an intention, an affirmation, praying, whatever it may be, and then outright doing a spell to get your way? Because wouldn't you just... It seems like the spell would be...
I think you have a stigma when it comes to understanding what a spell and a witch is.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I don't...
Yeah, so I think that part of your finding your magic is to release the stigmas attached around the witches and the manipulation and how that has hurt you.
Well, the first person I interviewed for this, and I haven't released, I don't know what episode she'll be on.
You can
she
described that.
Yeah, she describes herself as a witch.
Yeah, I'm a witch.
Yeah, so I don't have any, like, negative connotations with witch. I just, like...
But there's a wow about it, which for me is interesting. Cause
it's like, because, okay, we're told, whether it's just from a psychological standpoint, you know, affirmations help to, you know, reinforce your focus, or whether you're religious, pray, you know, whatever it may be. But if spells are real, then it just kind of seems like, why wouldn't you just cast a spell? Like, that seems way more effective.
Yeah, what I've noticed in my travels and in my life is that all these things are just different languages and understanding of the same truth.
So it's like ritual. It's like an affirmation
ritual. It's like
with
religion,
a ritual.
you know, like religion and healing over the course of history and time. So like people in Hawaii, before there was planes and boats going between country to country, are doing the same kind of healing and medicine as people in Japan, the same kind of medicine as people in Australia, when they didn't even know what Australia and Japan was. Like it's a different operation of the way they do these things, but there is still the same intention. They all found it through source and through intuition to bring it into life. Science is just another version of spirituality. They're just bringing it into another physical. It's only science is proving things that the yogis have known for centuries.
Yeah.
You know?
That makes sense to me.
Yeah.
Like all of these things, different religions.
They're just different labels for the same thing.
And
so
then different interpretations.
Yes, an affirmation. And the thing about the witches, though, is what it makes it so like, ooh, about it is the witch hunts. There was like hundreds of thousands of women burned. And what they were burned for was for being misunderstood. So what they were doing was they were doing their medicine. So like I would have been burnt for the work that I do once upon a time that you came to see me for, you know? And they were burnt for picking flowers and singing to the moon. You know, this is something we feel so innately in us and we feel so connected with that. The witch hunts and the fear of female sexuality are so intertwined. So we just haven't been understood, and then we were murdered for our sexuality. We were murdered for our expressions of our cyclical ways of being and seeming crazy when we're just going through our winter phase. And that has been oppressed into the ways that we operate now. Like the witch wound is real. Sometimes when I'm silenced, I feel the noose around my neck, you know?
Really?
Yes.
When you're silenced?
Yes. When someone silences me, it feels like I'm being hung. I can feel it.
Wow.
Yeah, it's very interesting. So that's why and it's also interesting and really helpful when we're in a space where there's an awake ally of a man who recognizes that someone zips himself up out of whatever fear or catharsis or contraction and be's like, oh, what were you going to say? To help us like undo that noose and speak our truth. So it's just like the more that we can just like sit back and observe the way someone organically brings out their magic, which is their femininity, their sexuality, their sensuality, that is her magic. You know, that is all of our magic, whether you're a man or a woman. However you can channel that creative, sacred part of you is, and birth that into the world is your spell. Your word's your spell. That's how you birth your inner world into your outer world. So if you say, I can't do this podcast because everyone's going to think I'm crazy, you're casting a spell on yourself, right? Because whether you think you can or you can't, you're right.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
But can you teach me a spell that's like beyond just words? Like, what is a spell that involves not pissing on a picture and burying it in a
so not
pot
passive, I love
plant?
it.
Huh?
I just love how fixated you are on that one. What do you want to make a spell for? Should we make a spell?
Look, if I need to piss on a picture to get what I
think that
want...
we should write on this leaf.
Well, no, because that leaf's connected to you were talking about releasing your ex-partner.
Yeah. So it's literally come into the space.
Okay.
You're nervous? Okay.
No, my voice... I'm not nervous. My voice just crackled.
Yeah, for what reason?
Okay, all right. If we have to...
I feel like this has been a sacrifice.
What, and we have to write on it with blood?
I'm into it.
I said that as a joke, and you, like, paused and thought about it.
It would really work. It would really work. But I do see fire involved, because fire is a way to transmute and release energy.
Yeah, let's do fire.
We can bury it. Let's bury it. Let's do bury.
Let's do fire.
Oh, okay, cool. All right.
Because the smoke alarm battery has been taken out.
Oh, that's dangerous.
I think that I should probably
needs,
put it back in.
To dry a little bit more. So I think this is going to be in your altar. I think you're going to write a spell on this leaf.
With what? A pen?
I think if a pen is what drops in for you, it's a pen.
But
I think that when I leave, you can put something on there that feels sacred to you.
So that's like an altar.
This is an altar. It's got your crystals on it and your powder and your things, or being in the sun.
This is the hair from Gypsy, my cat.
Oh, okay, yeah, this is your altar. This is where your spell is going. You've got it. What do you want your spell to be? It has to come from your heart and your love and your truth and not your ego. Otherwise, it's not going to work. Or it'll work for a little bit and then it'll take it away. just like the lottery thing.
Mm.
So you think about that while I use your bathroom. Where is it?
Bathroom's just down there.
Okay.
Far right.
Thank you.
I'm gonna keep talking because I'm not gonna pause it. I'm not gonna pause it because this is all part of it. 48. No, this is good. Okay. I didn't even consider that. You can't see that, but there's an altar here. I never thought of it as an altar, but did I find? Yeah, I found this. This is like not a shell. It's coral. I think that's from Queensland. That's some like dried coral. And then there's just a couple of like small crystals that I liked. And then this is the hair from Gypsy when she was put down. The vet collected some, put this in this little bottle. That was special because I was there with her as she passed away. And then this here, actually, Shan, I've got to ask you about this.
Yeah, okay.
Because now that I never considered this an altar, maybe it was intuitive that I just arranged that.
That is how the magic works. I need some water. Do you want some?
I'm all right, thanks. But so I was just saying there's some dried coral that I like. I think I found that in Queensland. There's a couple of like little...
You're literally a witch. You're collecting rocks and coral and hair.
Oh my God.
Literally.
Fucking
There's
hell.
also
No, wouldn't it be...
spells you can do as well. You know?
Well, maybe just give me a few months. That's not my focus right now.
That's
but
okay.
Does that make me a wizard?
If that's what you're feeling, yes.
Okay. And then there's just a couple other crystals. And then there's the hair from Gypsy.
Yeah.
And I was with her as I love Gypsy. She's a British short hair cat. I'll show you a photo of her later. And she I was with her when she was euthanized at the vet. And that was the first time I'd ever like witnessed death.
Really?
Yep.
Oh,
ever.
you're fresh.
I'm fresh as fuck. I'm real fresh. I've got there's been a couple of deaths recently, but like I didn't see the bodies or anything like that but anyway, what I've got to ask you is that I'm umming and ahhing about this, and just for the audio, this is some bark. In 2022, we were we did Bali, and then we did North America. We did Tulum in Mexico, and we went to Yosemite National Park in California.
Wow.
Do you know?
Tell me.
Oh, it's my favorite place on earth. Well, I'll show you a photo just quickly.
So why are you questioning it?
Because I'm questioning it because I've taken some bark from the Sequoia redwood trees.
Oh.
That's where they're from.
Yeah, I was going to ask what tree it was.
Yeah. And they're like, yeah. So,
beautiful name.
Well, that was the name of my ex, actually.
Really? Fascinating.
Well, let's not read into it too much. It's just a nice tree.
So she's a nice woman, you know?
Oh, look, Godspeed to her. Don't break it.
I did. It came off though.
I just want to show you Yosemite National Park. I just want because this was I literally, as we arrived, right, I was not expecting this, but as we arrived, we parked in the car park for a part of the national park called Mariposa Grove, and that's this Sequoia redwood grove. And then you take this short bus ride that takes you further up the forest, and then that starts this walk through the redwood grove. And we walked all the way up to the top, to the summit, and overlooked the valley and stuff, and it was incredible. And I collected this. Anyway, this is Yosemite Valley.
Oh wow, it's a dream.
So that was and when we arrived, when the bus arrived and dropped us at the start of the trek, and I got out. Even before I got out of the bus, I just started crying.
Did you?
I started crying because I was like, I have dreamt about this. my whole life, not like literally dreamt, but like
I understand.
I envisioned like this is the classic, you know, storybooks from cartoons in America where it's like in the woods, in the cabin, and the bears. That's it. There's black bears. We saw black bears. There's these beautiful redwood trees that are like ancient. They're the largest, the species of tree that are the largest in the world. It's powerful energy. And I was like, oh my God. Like I felt this, my inner child.
I did it.
Yeah, it's like, I'm here. I'm fucking here. And I was just crying. But I have since heard that you're not supposed to take things away from like sacred
you're not.
land.
Yeah, because it can bring bad juju. So if you didn't take it with permission, then I think you need to let it go. So maybe what we do is we write on this instead. And this one's for my spell later.
All right.
So, and then we're going to burn that.
Okay.
So maybe you need to write a word. You need to find a word that kind of accumulates that journey and this initiation into your wizardry that you can write here in texture or paint or...
There's not much room to write.
Yeah, but maybe it needs to be a word.
Okay.
Kind of like how Sanskrit, the word is like its whole own poem.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so you've got to find a word that kind of accumulates and combines everything that you want to also release how you took, but also birth, because death and birth are the same thing, right?
Yeah.
Birth what is to come from that accumulation of that journey, because you are at a rite of passage in your life. You've had that massive journey, and you've also released. You're going through a rite of passage of letting go of that partner, and this is a whole new world you're stepping into that you're still tiptoeing. So what can be your kind of birthing word for that?
Well, I don't know, because when you say like life, birth and death are the same, because I'm like, well, if I'm trying to like release this energy because I took this bark without permission, then doesn't it seem selfish that at the same time I'm like writing something like as a personal request for something to happen?
When a woman gives birth, she dies. Life as you know it dies. And her new life and a life beyond her is born.
Right.
And when we're born earthside and we leave the canal of the womb space, life as we knew it is dead and something else is birth. It's a transmutation of energy. We go through Shakti, which is the creator, which is the feminine source, that is the container of life, and everything else is inside of that. So it is the process. It's not selfish. It is the alchemy of collecting all the different elements to make something else.
Should we do it now?
Yeah.
I'll get a pen.
Yeah, get a pen.
And then what? Burn it in a bowl and have the windows open? All right, let's do this.
Cool.
Okay.
How do you got to think about your word?
Well, yeah.
This feels better. This one's for me. I haven't decided what I'm going to write on this yet. I've got a lot going on.
This is fun.
It is fun.
This is
and
a session.
And it is. And I feel like it's a good way to wrap up the session too, because then I have to roll.
Yes.
Not to rush anything, but to just flag.
Yes, I appreciate your time. Okay, I'm just going to find...
Maybe a texter.
A what?
A texter.
What does that mean?
Oh, like I don't know what you call it, a thick marker.
Oh.
Because you want it to be on there, right? You don't have a texter?
Then I can find one.
There's one on the wall, on the fridge, right in front of me.
Yeah, but that's like a whiteboard marker, right?
But it's still going to write on bark, isn't it? Because it's thick. Or if you've got a different...
Yeah, it does. It does.
I just think a pen's going to be weak and we want it to be bold.
Okay. And what should I... Oh, we'll burn it in this... Yeah?
Whatever you don't mind getting a bit of burn on it. Be cool if you had a fire pit. That would be perfect.
I think this is fine, right?
Yeah.
Because it's like, yeah, okay. Are we going to do it here and have the window open? Is that safe?
I think if it becomes unsafe, it's very easy for us to move it outside.
Let's open this.
Yeah.
All right. So I've got to just think of one word.
Yeah, what's your word that is? For example, my word this year was surrender. Which is hard for me, but also it's not about me, it's about what is your word moving forward that breaks the spell of the old ways of limitation and fear that births the new. So is it trust? Is it empowerment? Is it belief? Is it action? You might have to like...
It's, I'll tell you what it is. I don't know if this is the exact word I want to use.
Mm-hmm.
It is about trust and belief and all that, and it is about taking action and all of that, but what it really is like the intersection between trusting and believing in the process and the universe or whatever, and taking the actions. And I think the intersection of those two is confidence.
Sick.
Is that the word?
It's a great word. And you know what's wild? The sun has just gone into Leo, the astrological map in the sky of Leo, which is lion energy, which is confidence, which is the time to action everything that you believe in. So that is perfect. You are totally, and the breeze is coming through now as I say it, you're on track. Confidence.
I don't know if I can fit that word.
Yes, you can. Not with that attitude. I think you have to, not to interfere with your process. I think you've got to start it all the way down here and let it take over the whole space.
Okay.
And isn't that funny? I don't know if I can fit it. And it's like, be confident that it'll fit.
So true. And as I'm writing it, it's clear that I will be able to fit it.
Yeah. See? Everything is connected.
Okay. I'm nearly done.
You got it. I think you should show the screen after too.
Okay. Yeah, because this will be boring to people listening, but I'm nearly done, I promise. I'm on the E at the end.
Nice.
Confidence.
Beautiful.
What's that song? Confident baby.
Who's that?
Some Australian band.
Is it Sticky Fingers?
I want to say it's Sticky Fingers.
It's not Sticky Fingers, it's the other one.
But it's the other one that, like, yeah, I love Sticky Fingers.
I do like Sticky Fingers. Ocean Alley.
Ocean Alley.
Yeah.
Confidence.
Okay. The
So
wind is really coming through. Do you have a lighter?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So
Burn it.
I don't have to do anything more.
Do you want to?
Shall I thank the redwood tree and
yes, actually, yeah. Have a moment really kind of creating a prayer and ceremony for the past version of you and the journey that you've taken that has accumulated up until this point to help you recognize that your neural path is confidence. So spend a moment really releasing that version of you out of your field, acknowledging him and letting him know that his whole sacrifice is what is birthing this new world and path for you.
But what about the tree itself?
The tree itself is great, yeah.
But should I apologize?
You should thank it for its giving, even though you didn't recognize yet that you took.
I want to say it out loud because
Great,
it's a podcast.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it's like silence.
Yeah, and also it's good to birth these things because it's the spell.
So I want to thank this beautiful, strong, ancient, wise Sequoia tree in Yosemite National Park, California. And thank you for allowing me to take a piece of you home. I recognize now that need to be let go. And yeah. I
think we need to apologize to the indigenous peoples of that land for taking.
And apologies to the indigenous people in Yosemite Valley. But thank you nevertheless for your presence and my time with you.
Beautiful.
And now I ask that as I release you, that you help me to sustain, not find confidence because I found it, but to sustain confidence.
Embodied.
And just embody confidence in everything that I do, and guide and support me to always bring me back to a state of confidence.
Beautiful.
It's going to be really anticlimactic because the wind's just going to blow it out.
Yeah, I'm just wondering if my presence here blocks it a little bit.
It's too windy. Should we close it to start?
I'll close it and then I'll open it when we need.
Yeah.
It's also the aircon, I think. I also realised that I've been calling it yours might my whole life.
You've been what?
Calling it yours might.
Yours might.
Yours might.
Oh, Yosemite, yeah. Yours might.
I'm pretty sure I said it earlier, so I just wanted to...
Yours might. Yeah, yours might. Yeah. Yosemite.
This is beautiful, it smokes. So we're just burning the end of the confidence. It's starting to take a little bit of smoke and light. We really want to, if it can.
Yeah, I guess it occurred to me now, I'm not familiar with the smell of burning Sequoia redwood because it's not something that, it's not a wood that you would burn.
Nice.
That's kind of special actually now I think of it, because it's not a wood that you would burn like as firewood, and it's also not something like Palo Santo or like incense or whatever. That's burning my thumb.
Oh, is it? It's catching now though.
It's not
nice
like
angle going.
Yeah, it's not something that
I reckon. Yeah, nice. It's burning. Can I have a turn?
You've got. It's just hot.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, it's not something that the indigenous people of California have like allowed, I guess, to become a sort of incense type thing, or Palo Santo, or like a essential oil or something. So I don't even know. This is the first time I've smelled this.
I think possibly the last.
Yeah.
Definitely a fire pit would be ideal, so then we could have other things and this would burn on top of it. I had a dreadlock for a period of time in my life, about 4 years, and it got to a point where I started to feel this like heavy energy with this one dreadlock. I had long hair and one dreadlock, and I even cut my hair but kept the dreadlock, and then I burnt the dreadlock. And it was interesting, the black smoke and what I felt somatically leave my spirit in that ceremony when I burnt my dreadlock was fascinating.
Wow.
It's like a phoenix coming out of the ashes. Do you camp?
Have done.
Next time you go camping, I think you need to take this with you to put it in actual fire, because it doesn't burn completely through in this
So
urban
it's a small
environment.
lighter.
Yeah, but it's still more of the word we need to burn. Your turn.
Is it okay that it only gets half burnt in the session and then I burn it, continue burning it?
Because maybe it's a little reminder for now that you've burnt out the word, because it's black now. But then as accumulation of when you've kind of embodied the confidence, perhaps now this is your reminder. And then as a way to wrap it all up is the accumulation of that not having to be a reminder anymore because it's embodied and lived. Because I feel like, using my dreadlock experience as an example, I got my dreadlock done as this union between a friend and I, and this liberation of my freedom and my choice, and also similar thing to your experience where you're at this national park and you recognize that, wow, I've always dreamt of this, here I am. Same thing for me in this experience of getting my dreadlock because I was working at sea. And then it got to a point where I was living back in Melbourne and I was still attached to that version of me. So like it's like it was a reminder the whole time of where I came from and my journey to get to this point. But then when it was time to cut it off and burn it, it was kind of just like this weight had shifted, and now I just live and be everything that I know, and I don't have to have an attachment to it anymore. It's very interesting. I think that's perfect. I think it goes on your altar, and then you need to make an intention to trust when it's time to fully release it.
Yeah.
Beautiful spell.
Well, thank you so much.
Thank you
Shan.
so much.
That was cool.
It was very cool. Shall we close the portal of the podcast?
Shall we wrap it up?
Yeah.
I think that's a pretty special moment to end on. Thanks for
agree.
helping me with that.
Of course. All the power to you and your confidence. And thanks for connecting.
I'll let you know when and
I trust the process. I planted my seed.
Yeah, you've planted the seed, and I look forward to this being shared with the world. What are you doing here?
I'm just cleansing
me. Why I'm that toxic?
Oh, just from...
It's the toxic masculinity. You need to cleanse it. You just feel the...
you need to not doubt yourself. And I'm just closing this portal of us opening a lot of spirit so that our energy can be clean and not interfered with, and we can go back to our lives after connecting in a really beautiful, deep spiritual way. So there's no leaks in what we opened up here, because we talked about mediumship, we talked about death, we talked about black magic. There was a lot we brought into this space, and it's energetic hygiene, and closing the portal is just as important as opening, you know? So with love and light, welcome back to the world. And we're closing this portal of cosmic banter. Cosmic banter.
Nice. You can't see, but I'm waiting for a high five. If you're left hanging, you've got to be confident, like...
Yeah, the confidence is working.
Yeah, confidence. There you go. Let's end it on that. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm excited for my spell now.
That was cool.
That was very cool.
Thank you so much.